Afternoon and welcome to Inside Look by Brooks. This is Steve Brooks and I'm here today with my good friend and colleague Ron Miller. Ron, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
So Ron and I, we were just talking how our families go way back because my dad was a physician in Polk County, and he actually treated Ron's family back in way back there sometimes.
In the 50s.
In the 50s, yes. So very proud of my dad, and I've heard so many great stories about him from Ron and other people. But I wanted to bring Ron today to, Ron is our head field representative, and Ron is the guy that leads up the department in the firm that goes out into the field and signs up new clients. And he goes through the entire intake process, and he can answer some questions and interact with the clients. So I just wanted you to meet Ron, hear a little bit about his background. He's got an incredible background. He was a football player at Florida State University, and he worked in a Republican administration up in Washington for the White House, and he worked he has a really interesting and life story in and of itself. But we're so proud to have Ron working with us and helping our clients to kind of integrate with the law firm. So Ron, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm married, happily married to Sandy. I'm a father. I'm probably the best grandfather in the whole state of Florida. And if you got any questions about that, you can ask my grandchildren. I have my church is here in Winter Haven. I'm a people person, active in our community, and very active with the Brooks Law Group. I really enjoy what I'm doing.
So yeah, thank you, Ron. And when Ron says he's a people person, he's the kind of guy that when he walks into the room, remember the old commercial where, when so-and-so speaks, everybody stops. Ron is a guy that he's got such charisma and is so extroverted and outgoing that he draws people to him like flies. So he's a wonderful friend to me and obviously a colleague in the firm. So just give the viewers a little bit about what it's like to be a field rep and the kind of people you meet and places you go. And
well, that's one of the more interesting things about being a field representative. One, we represent the law firm, and two, I represent myself as a human being. And I like to think that I have lots of integrity. When I go reach out to the community, one of the things I'm real comfortable with is part of that integrity is that I believe in the law firm that I'm working with because we have similar values. I'm the frontline person that will meet with you right after you had an accident. And I know from my own personal experiences that's a very confusing place to be. I'm hurt, but at the same time, I have all these questions about what's going to happen to me. I've never been in a situation where I had to know something about my insurance company. I haven't been in a situation where a lot of the things that I'm moving forward with, I need someone that I can trust. And that comes in when I see someone. I have compassion for that person because I've been in an automobile accident myself. I have compassion with that person because I have a working relationship with the law firm, but the legal community as a whole. But I do know something about, generally speaking, about insurance, and I can answer those questions. I think it's important that a person who's been in an accident have some hands-on to have a sense of security about what has happened to them and what can we do for them going forward. I think I add another factor to being a field representative that I've worked with law firms in the past and in the capacity of working right in the hands-on from cradle to grave on managing a case. So with that, I can answer a lot of questions that people might have generally about what's going to happen as we process our way through this, through the actual, hopefully a settlement. In some cases, we have to go to court. But it's fortunate that I'm working with a law firm where we have trial lawyers, and that makes a difference as to, in my opinion, as to whether we're going to go to court or not. Because if I'm an insurance company and I know that you have the leverage to actually take me to court, most of the time I will want to at least communicate with you and come to a position where maybe I'll settle. And that's to the advantage of our client, because you don't want to, in some cases, you want to drag this out over an extended period of time unless you really actually have to.
Right.
So I like interacting with people. And for me, when I walk away from a client, and I often tell them that this, I feel like I've done my best for you. And since we're such a small community, if I ran into you in the grocery store, we're both going to feel real good about our experience.
So thank you, Ron. And just to be clear, Ron's not an attorney, so he can't give legal advice, but he can, by his experience as a case manager, can give you advice on how the cases generally go and what to expect along the way, the process, the segues you're going to take, and the ins and outs of, there's ups and downs in a case, and it can be a medium to long ride. So, having someone like Ron, answer those kind of questions up front can be really helpful. And Ron goes all over the state. I mean, he was going to be in Mount Dora this morning. He could be, St. Pete, Tampa, Orlando. He's all over. So, we definitely have investigators that go, our field reps that go all over. The nice thing about Ron is Ron has been the owner of several businesses, many of which had multiple employees. So he understands what it's like to meet a payroll and to do public relations and to keep clients happy. So he's very focused on the client and the client experience. And that's one thing that we all appreciate about Ron. Ron, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I'd like to add that, it's a very strange experience based on what I've gone through to be informed about what it's going to take for me to take care of myself and my family when it comes to an accident. And sometimes that means, do I really have to go to the doctor? And if so, why? Someone needs to answer that question. And there's a real transition from the field representative to the actual law firm, and being a non-attorney. Sometimes that makes it easier for a person to communicate with me, but they know I'm John Q. Public.
Absolutely, and Ron makes an incredible point. The biggest issue, a lot of people, their friend maybe got a settlement 5 years ago, and their friend got X amount of dollars, and a week later, every case is fact specific, and I can tell you this: every case is medically driven. So the only way a case settles in a week is if someone was traumatically injured and the policy limits are low, and there's going to be no question that the insurance company is going to deliver policy limits. But if there's a normal policy on that case and the injuries are not traumatic in the sense that there hasn't been multiple surgeries, there hasn't been a hospital stay, there's going to have to be a record of your treatment, because I always like to say the medical records is the Bible of your case. And if you don't have that Bible when you go into court to show the jury that you were legitimately injured, that you followed through, that the pain was severe enough that you kept going back to the doctor and you followed the prescriptions, you went through with the procedures the doctors recommended, you went to physical therapy. So if the record isn't complete, the juries are very skeptical, because they've read things in the paper. And so they want to have meat to bite into to show that you are truly, truly injured. If you don't follow through with the treatment, like Ron was saying, then your case is going to go nowhere. So we really preach treatment. We have medical facilities and doctors that we know are, they treat the clients well, and they're very competent medically, and they're not scared of the court system. They're not scared to go into court and raise their right hand and testify on your behalf. Some doctors actually are. So you want to be careful about the doctor you choose. But that was a very good point. And so with that, Ron, I thank you for joining me today. And, it's great to see you, and always a joy to be around Ron. So we'll see you next Friday at 3 o'clock for Friday's Inside Look by Brooks. Thank you for joining me today.